Hey, Haiti Oropesa with Florida Your Judge, and today I have a judicial candidate who's running for Group 7 in Hillsborough County, and I welcome you, Ty Tison. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm sure the voters and the public is going to be very, very happy to be able to access this online and to hear directly from you about your judicial candidacy. So first of all, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having me, and my name is Ty Tison, and my legal name is William, but everybody knows me by Ty. I was born at Tampa General Hospital in 1963, so I'm born and raised Tampa, and got educated here in all the public schools, and ultimately went to college up at Emory University up in Atlanta, and then American University in Washington, D.C., and I ended up going to law school at University of Florida. And my first job out of law school, I worked for a top 10 insurance defense firm in Atlanta, representing the defendants in these insurance cases, you know, slip and falls, car accidents, that sort of stuff. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then I came back down to Tampa and ended up taking a big pay cut to come work for Bill James. He was the state attorney at the time. The happiest people I knew were all prosecutors and public defenders. They got to try a lot of cases, and it was a great job. And so I went ahead and ended up getting that job. And that was in 1991. And I worked for Mr. James, and then I worked for Harry Lee Coe from 91 to 1998, and ultimately became a chief prosecutor and was in charge of a number of different divisions. And then in 1998, my wife was a cardiac nurse at the time, and I was a chief prosecutor. I was dealing with murder cases and handling all the big stuff, serious stuff, and she was trying to keep people alive over at Tampa General, and we had a lot of arguments, or I guess not arguments, but every day at 4 o'clock the phone would ring, and we had to have a discussion about who was going to go pick up the kids.
Wow.
And so we decided that our priorities were a little bit out of whack, and said our prayers, and I opened a law firm in 1998. And at that point, I've had my own law firm essentially now from 1998 to present, so
21 years.
21 years now.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank
That's an accomplishment. And so prior to your opening your private firm, you had a lot of experience as a prosecutor. And,
Absolutely.
And you've defended persons charged with crimes.
Absolutely. I did the civil work first in that big law firm doing the plaintiff's casualty, defendant's casualty work, and then yes, I prosecuted for 7 years, and then I've now done criminal defense. I kind of flipped the switch. I ended up doing criminal defense work, and I represent plaintiffs in personal injury case, accident victims, and I've done that now in some form of my own law firm for 21 years.
So you're a very well-rounded candidate, civil and criminal.
Civil and criminal.
And criminal, both sides.
Yes, as a trial lawyer and having done both sides of each.
Okay, so it appears based on your resume recitation and your experience recitation that you're very well suited to assume the bench now that you've been in practice for a very long time. Talk to me about demeanor. How important is demeanor in a judge?
I think demeanor is extremely important. What you want is somebody that has an even temperament, somebody that is going to listen, somebody that's going to hear both sides, understand what the issues are, and that are not going to deprive a citizen of a right, their one chance there in a court of law to have the facts and apply to the law and have a decision made. Anytime you're in a courtroom, it's high pressure, it's high stress, and a person's life, their fortune, their well-being is on the line. And that needs to be that is, I guarantee you, the most important thing going on the planet to that litigant, to that person.
What about courtesy,
respect?
respect?
That case. And yeah, if you don't have courtesy to hear out the cases, if you don't have patience to give people the time that they need to formulate their cases, to be able to put on all the evidence, then you really have no business on the bench. You've got to be able to listen to people and give them the opportunity to be heard, because what happens is that person can, if they feel like they were deprived of a fair trial, and other people in the courtroom, the public that are watching this, or the next people up, are sitting there and they're thinking, my gosh, this person isn't listening to anything I say. They rendered a decision, and all they wanted to do was, get the case over with. If that is the perception of the litigant and or the public in general, then the fabric of society is actually, it's a bigger picture than even just that one individual, because here in America, we go to court if we need to try to resolve disputes between citizens, and if people don't believe that they're getting a fair trial and a fair hearing by somebody that cares to hear the evidence and render a just verdict, then we're going to have much bigger problems. That's how in some of these other countries, if you don't feel like you have access to the courts to be able to have your case heard, that's how we end up going much deeper in society and having real problems where there's no trust in the judiciary, and the next thing you know, you have revolutions starting if people don't think they're being treated fairly.
Right, and some people, sometimes not only non-lawyers, but lawyers feel like some judges are more concerned about rushing through a case to finish with it, and may not have their full undivided attention placed on something that is, to anyone that finds themselves in any sort of case dispute, it means the world to them, because Absolutely. It might just be that one time. Okay, let me ask you about community involvement. And you know what, before I go into community involvement, here's the other thing. I do want to say this directly because I have familiarity with you, Ty. Some candidates that I've interviewed in the past and some that I will be currently interviewing or in the future, maybe I haven't had that much interaction or know that much about them, but I can speak about you. When did you decide that you wanted to be a judge? How long ago?
Oh gosh, I decided that I wanted to be a judge the very first time. Let me.
How long ago? Or is that something that you've always since law school?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The day after I graduated from law school, I wrote down the ambitions of a young man. I'm sorry, the day after I graduated from undergraduate school.
Wow.
I have a journal, and in that journal, I wrote down various life goals and things that I may or may not want to try to accomplish over the course of my career. And one of the things that I wrote down was to possibly be a judge. So I made the decision as to that being a possibility or something I might do back in 1986. When I was prosecuting at the state attorney's office, I had a number of people talk to me about potentially being a judge one day. One of those people was a excellent judge, a former Judge Sims, that I practiced in front of for quite a while.
Mm-hmm, I'm familiar with him.
He had talked to me about, and he was a great man, a great judge, very fair person. I didn't always agree with him, but I always believed that he made decisions based on what he thought was the right thing to do, based on the evidence and the law after hearing people out, regardless of who they were or where they came from.
I just want to say this, that I've known you for at least 10 years, maybe more. And I've always seen you to be the same as far as temperament and your interactions with people. Myself, you've always been kind, courteous, and that is important because I've taken personal notes. So have some of my colleagues, that there's a definite contrast between some candidates, and I'm not going to name them, where their demeanor all of a sudden changes based on their announcement that they're running for judge. And sometimes there's a question about that. But I do want to kind of, on the record, say that your temperament has, for a very long time, been one where you've just been a very nice, kind, courteous person. So I want to just say that for the record.
Well, I appreciate that. I try to conduct myself in all aspects of my career in that manner, because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Forget the law. It's the right thing to do as a human being.
Right. Okay, so how about community involvement and community service? What does that mean to you?
That means being involved in the community on a personal basis, on a relational basis. It's one thing to go check a box that, you did this or you did that, but to actually be involved in your community is extremely important, because, especially if you're running for judge, because people are going to come before you, and they're of all different types, races, religions. You're not going to be a judge over one particular race or career or whatever it is that people do that differentiate themselves from each other. When they stand before the court of law, the judge is to be blind to any of these issues other than the fact that there are facts, and those facts need to be applied to the law. And if you haven't been a part of your community, how are you supposed to understand anything? Now, nobody's telling you to be colorblind or to be race blind, where you don't. I mean, obviously everybody can see, and you need to understand where do people come from, why is it that they're making decisions the way that they're making them, all sorts of life experiences that go into that. And if you haven't been part of the community in some way, shape, or form, long before you ever run for judge, this is just as a human being and being a citizen of a community, then really you probably don't have a whole lot of business running for judge, because you're not really in a position at that point, I think, to have people, other citizens, come before you to have their issues resolved.
And I know because I try to involve myself as much as I can in the community. And I've heard community activists and members of the community saying, oh, well, this person now all of a sudden is here in the community, but where were they prior to announcing that they wanted to seek judicial, position, a seat, and are seeking my vote? So here's the other thing that I'd like to make it a routine and practice in the future of getting a commitment from judicial candidates prior to a possible win. If you are elected, would you commit to remaining committed to a community involvement?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, the only way I think that you can really forecast, I mean, I can sit here and answer that question all day long, and every candidate can come in here, and none of them are going to say no.
But then I can remind them in the future.
Well, you can remind them, but what you want to see, the best prediction of their future behavior is to look at their past behavior.
Thank you.
And so, in terms of my community involvement, again, I was born and raised here. When I was in law school, I found time to serve as a big brother to somebody, and in the Big Brother, Big Sisters program. And later, when I had the opportunity, I served on the board for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I also served on the board of directors for Youth for Christ. I served with the Healthcare Connection Foundation, which was a drug rehabilitation facility, or pro bono, not pro bono, but it was a foundation that provided monies to people that could not afford to get drug treatment on their own. And I was on the board for them. I also served on the Florida Bar Professional Committee, having to do with professionalism in the Constitutional Judiciary Committee that focused on educating the public. I served on the award committee. I won the pro bono award for some service that I provided in a criminal case for Hillsborough County. So I also coached and assisted in coaching Little League, all the sports. I'm just another human being. I got 3 children. I raised them in this community. They graduated from schools here in Hillsborough County. And I think, my past involvement will speak for my commitment to this community in the future.
Certainly, it has already. I was about to tell you, okay, that's it. You've done a lot. Good for you. Kudos, props to you.
Thank you.
Ty, we have a couple of minutes, so I'm going to give you the last few minutes to address the voters. Anything that you want them, in addition to the great things you've already said, to know about you as your life experience, your past experience, or as a candidate. I'm going to give you the last couple of minutes to say whatever you need to say. Let them know also where they can know more about you online, any website, Facebook page, so that they can look you up and do further vetting research on you.
Great. The foundation for me has been my faith, and honesty, integrity, and excellence is not something that I started as a campaign slogan. In fact, it's not my campaign slogan, but honesty, integrity, and excellence is something that I've lived my whole life, that I've tried to aspire to. I have fallen short many times. I will fall short again.
We all will.
Yes, but that has been the core of who I am and what I've tried to instill in my children and in this community. And that is something that, even the team of people that I work with, I have 2 associates, I have a staff they'll tell you at our meetings, it's honesty, integrity, excellence, honesty, integrity, excellence. And that's what I put in my emails from my law firm, as when an email goes out, it says honesty, integrity, excellence, gladly serving the injured and the accused. This is not something that started because I ran for office. It goes to the core of who I am. And I think that that, along with my demeanor and my experience, make me the best candidate to be able to serve in this community and take those skills and serve in this community in the next step of my career, which would hopefully be as a court if the public determines that by the vote that is something that they would be willing to have me do. So my website for a campaign is tytisonforjudge.com. The 4 is the number 4. tytisonforjudge.com.
I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I really, and I just appreciate the opportunity here to have been heard today and to participate, and it's all good. I'm blessed to be here, and I love this community.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Ty. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you very much.